What's going on, everybody? Mock Draft 2021 NFL. Recently, after the breaking news of Jared Goff to the Detroit Lions, they also sent in that trade Matthew Stafford, who's been there for years, 10 plus years, to the Los Angeles Rams. Detroit Lions get 2 first-round picks and a third, I believe. You could debate on who won that trade, but it will definitely affect the upcoming mock draft that I will do and in the future, because the Lions now have a quarterback in Jared Goff. Young guy, Matthew Stafford. I don't think we really saw his full potential in Detroit, but to say the least, I was shocked that they traded him to the Rams. I thought the Colts would get Stafford. I was pretty hopeful, but they're going to have to do some work here in the offseason to find their quarterback. A veteran guy would be perfect for the Colts. A few years. And they're Super Bowl contenders if they have somebody like Stafford or, somebody younger than Rivers, even though Rivers did well. But anyway, mock draft. I didn't have the Detroit Lions taking a quarterback, so this really doesn't affect it. However, there will be some trades in this draft. For one, Trey Lance. I'm just kidding. Trevor Lawrence, of course, out of Clemson. Probably the only lock pick here, really. I've seen him compared to Andrew Luck. Just an all-around talent. His football IQ is pretty high. And stop with the Urban Meyer wants Justin Fields because he's from Ohio State. Okay, first of all, Urban Meyer hasn't been in Ohio State in 3 years. I don't think he cares. He's on the Jacksonville Jaguars now. He knows that he will have a franchise quarterback with Trevor Lawrence. And the whole world, I think, would be shocked that the Jaguars don't take Trevor Lawrence. So, Trevor Lawrence here at number 1. Number 2, the New York Jets. This is if the Jets don't get Deshaun Watson. I believe that they will go after him. He was a destination. It was his first destination that he prefers to go to out of 5, I believe. He gave out. Number 2 was the Dolphins. But I think they'll ride with Tua as well. We'll get to that soon as the Dolphins pick number 3. But I see the New York Jets going Zach Wilson here out of BYU. I just watched his highlight reel. He showed the guy he's really good, and I really haven't heard of him up until the last few months. And don't go crazy, but you can see some Patrick Mahomes in him. He's versatile, he's agile, smart, quick release. If the Jets draft well and get more, pieces in the offseason, they're going to be a good team. If they go after Kenny Golladay, Chris Godwin, Allen Robinson, the wide receiver class in the free agent pool right now is pretty solid. But if they do go for Deshaun Watson, they're not going to have these first-round picks. They might have the Seattle pick at late 20, I think like 23, but they're not going to have that number 2 pick. It'll work out, but they're not a team. They're a team that needs a lot of pieces. So if they just draft their quarterback, develop him very quickly, because I think they can. They got Robert Saleh. I think he's going to do really well. He's got a lot of experience. And if they draft down the line offensive tackles, then they're going to be a solid team. I think they should go after a running back in the later rounds or even in free agency. But I have them going Zach Wilson here at a BYU. They're going to be on the right path, the Jets. I really think that, because they haven't been relevant for 50 years or so, unfortunately. But I have the first trade here at number 3 with the Carolina Panthers and Miami Dolphins. Now, the Panthers obviously have Teddy Bridgewater. That was hard to say. They have Teddy Bridgewater, and they only have him for, I think, a year or 2 left. So I have them getting Justin Fields here, trading up for Justin Fields. Miami's in a great position here to trade. They're going to get a lot of calls on draft day. But I see the Panthers getting their quote, franchise quarterback. Justin Fields is great. I just think Zach Wilson's just a tiny bit more ready than Justin Fields right now. And if Justin Fields goes behind Teddy Bridgewater and learns for a year, which is funny that he automatically becomes the babysitter, Teddy Bridgewater. He's probably like, oh, like Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. He's like, I'm not going to be this kid's teacher. I'm going to go and try to win games. But it's an interesting little play there. But you're not good enough. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater was solid, but he's no Patrick Mahomes. And that's what it comes down to. So I have them. Let's see here. What did I do? Dolphins get 2021 first and second round. Damn. Well, it's expensive. Even only going up a few slots, 8-3. It's gonna, like I said, the Dolphins are gonna get a lot of calls. And once they say we're willing to trade, boom. I did have the Lions possibly trading up, but now they're not gonna. So I think the Carolina Panthers are in the best position here to trade because, say, like Washington is not gonna go, 18 spots or whatever it is to go get. That's gonna cost them way too much. So I think we'll get to their pick later on. But Carolina Panthers here, 8, 39, and a first round next year. And I think what else? They were in a fifth round in 2022. Propose, confirm, accepted. Okay, so now Justin Fields to the Carolina Panthers. Next up at 4, Atlanta Falcons. This was a tough one. Do they go quarterback? Do they grab a defensive piece? Do they get the best player on the board, Penei Sewell, at offensive tackle, because they obviously need help there? I think they do grab a quarterback for the future, and I see Trey Lance from North Dakota State going to the Atlanta Falcons and learning under, just like the Teddy Bridgewater learning under Matt Ryan for a year or two. Matt Ryan's, an MVP quarterback. He's kind of like Matt Stafford, where the organization has been inconsistent, a little better than the Detroit Lions, but Matt Ryan's in his late 30s. So they're going to want a fresh piece there in Trey Lance. Like Fields, Lance was, he kind of had that mobility that I think that a lot of teams are looking for in this new sort of wave of quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, even Aaron Rodgers can still run. So they grabbed Trey Lance here out of North Dakota State. Bengals in a perfect position, to get Penei Sewell at 5. Beast of an offensive tackle out of Oregon. Probably one of the best tackles or offensive linemen since, Quentin Nelson, and before that, I can't even think of one off the top of my head that has just been so. Top 5 pick is not. Eric Fisher was first overall back in 2013, but this guy is top 2, one across the board, but at least top 2 on a lot of mock drafts and a lot of draft prospects. They need help on that O-line, of course. Most teams do. If you don't have, 3 to even 4 pretty much almost Pro Bowl caliber offensive linemen, your team is just going to look so different, and it affects the quarterback so much. Look at Phillip Rivers. People were going to be like, yeah, he's going to be all right, which he was, but he's better than all right. I think 4,000 yards, great career to him as he retires. But a second or 2 more makes all the difference in the world. So that Joe Burrow injury can't happen again. I don't know if he's going to start the first few games. He'll probably be okay too by then, but his injury was tremendous. It was almost as bad as Alex Smith's. Nobody's was really Joe Theismann. But they grab a beast of an offensive tackle here, a solid pick like the Jags. I think it's it's a lock that they'll get Penei Sewell. If not, they might go for a wide receiver. But the wide receivers I have here in the next few picks. Number 6, the Philadelphia Eagles. Boy, were they in the headlines a lot this offseason with their quarterback situation. But after firing Doug Peterson, I don't think Carson Wentz is going to leave. I would like him to come to the Colts, because Matt Stafford's now gone, and I want, he's not a veteran, but he's he's still young, under 30 years old. But I think when he was in his MVP season, he was with Frank Reich, calling the plays at OC. So I think he would be a good fit for the Colts. But we're talking about their draft pick right now. At 6, Ja'Marr Chase out of LSU. They need help on the wide receiver end. They could go tight end. They could go linebacker. In other mock drafts that I did, I had them going Micah Parsons, but I think he'll fall a little further down. Ja'Marr Chase, probably the best wide receiver here out of this really solid wide receiver class. But I think he did opt out, I think. But his 2019 highlights are absurd. Let's see here. One-on-one, he'll come down with the ball at least 90%. He's a beast. And the Eagles will need that, especially if they don't go with Carson Wentz, but I think they will because Doug Peterson got fired. But say if they go with Jalen Hurts, he'll need all the weapons that he can get to help him there. Number 7, Jared Goff is going to get some Jalen Waddle help. But Jalen Waddle here, he got hurt towards the end of the season, but I think he's just a tad bit. I don't even want to say better, but Devonta Smith is skinny, and at best he'll put on 8-10 pounds in the offseason. But I honestly think that teams look at that, and but who cares? Just show them the film, Devonta. If they have trouble about your weight, but these scouts mention these things. So the Lions grabbing Jalen Waddle here. Now the third straight wide receiver, which is definitely possible. This isn't too much of a flashy draft here. Top 4 picks are quarterbacks, which I don't think it's ever happened. 8 picks here. Quarterback, wide receiver, OT. So third straight wide receiver here. But Devonta Smith, you saw him in the national championship. That game was over before the second quarter, honestly. Probably the half. But I think he got hurt towards the end, but that did not matter. It's so funny how these Colin Cowherd said it best when the SEC is all about their defense and how just unbelievable these secondaries are. So why is Devonta Smith so wide open? On any highlight you see, he's just it's like Travis Kelce. Why isn't anybody covering him? Well, they are. They're probably double teaming him, triple teaming him, but they're just so good that they just find these open slots. So I think the Dolphins grab a great wide receiver here. They have Parker. He's solid. He was a little better 2 years ago, but definitely help out Tua here. The familiarity aspect is so important. He was the guy that caught the national championship Hail Mary, if you will. It wasn't really a Hail Mary, but it was it was a bomb by Tua. The guy walks into the locker room. Tua's gonna be like, "Oh, yeah, what's Devonta? That's my boy. I know him." And that matters, a lot, especially when Tua wasn't playing. I don't think of his full caliber because of still recovering from that hip injury back when he was at Bama. So then we're gonna go first defenseman here. I have Patrick Surtain II from Bama. Third straight Bama guy here at 9 to the Broncos. I heard or I read somewhere that the Broncos wanted Stafford or they wanted Goff, one of them, but that means that they don't love Locke at the quarterback position. But if the top 4 guys are picked there and they don't get somebody in the offseason and they stay with Locke, they're going to address some defensive needs, and cornerback is one of them. They could go Caleb Farley here, but I think Surtain fits that scheme better in the Vic Fangio defense. Caleb Farley did opt out. He'll be in the next few picks, but they might have sort of a problem with that. I feel like the Broncos front office with Elway, he's going to want to watch recent film. And Surtain, he might not be the best cornerback in the draft. He's top 3 for sure. And I think the Broncos go snag him there. And they're not disappointed with that pick. So the Cowboys here, I have them grabbing Kyle Pitts. In other mock drafts, I had him falling to 15 at the Patriots, but I don't think that he will. And recently, I feel like the guy could be a receiver too. He's one of the best, I think, since Travis Kelce in the draft. I mean, he's not Kelce, of course. Relax. It's just I'm saying he's similar to him, where he's open. He had a beast career, had just unbelievable at Florida. And like I said, receiver 2. CeeDee Lamb, I don't know what they're going to do with the other wide receivers in Dallas. I mean, they don't even know what they're going to do with Dak Prescott in the offseason. But they'll have a young core there. And Pitts does way more than blocking. He's going to be a solid receiver, and I think they get the top tight end in the class. And I don't think you're going to see another tight end until the second round. He's just one of those guys that is just going to change your team so much. And if Dak has him, Dak's a young guy, and if Dak gets into some trouble, we'll dump past Kyle Pitts, and he's going to take off. New York Giants, the New York Giants. Kwity Paye here, edge rusher. It's definitely a need for them. This draft, I'm basically taking each team's top need. There'll be some teams where they have, like Kyle Pitts, tight end's not a huge need. They got Schultz, but I think that Cowboys, that's one of the picks where they'll take the best player on the board. But the Giants, they're going for pure need here. He's a beast. He's just going to make that defense stronger. And I think they're a few defensive pieces away from being one of the top 10 in the NFC. They needed a little more help on offense, but I think they address that later on in the draft. And they get Kwity Paye out of Michigan here. San Francisco 49ers, they're not grabbing a quarterback. I just don't think so. I mean, they could take Mac Jones, but I feel like that's a little too high. I think they could be in the running for Deshaun Watson. I mean, nothing surprises me anymore, especially last night with the Jared Goff trade. So if he doesn't go to the Jets, I think he'll go to the 49ers. But they get Caleb Farley here. They need help in that secondary, especially the cornerback position. And he's the best player on the board. Virginia Tech, he's a beast. Richard Sherman could be going. He might go join Robert Saleh in New York. Man, Richard Sherman in that New York media would be great. But he's getting older. I mean, he had a great career, but Caleb Farley coming in and locking down some wide receivers and making tackles too, which he does very well. Besides, get some interceptions. Next, the Chargers. I have them getting Rashawn Slater out of Northwestern. I see some mock drafts having him better than Penei Sewell. I don't think so. I feel like he needs to. Penei Sewell he could play tomorrow, and he would be a beast. Rashawn Slater, I feel like it would take a little bit of coaching to make him really good. And I think he could play multiple positions. I think his main position is tackle. I don't know if they could move him to a guard. Maybe. But they need to protect Justin Herbert, who had one of the best rookie seasons I've ever seen, except that game against New England, but that's Bill Belichick against rookie quarterbacks, and that was no surprise. But Justin Herbert, I don't think the rest of the team could keep up with how good he was. Definitely the best quarterback in the draft last year. Arguably the best player. I think he broke Baker Mayfield's touchdown record for a rookie. But they need help on the offensive line. They'll definitely get that with Rashawn Slater. And I feel like Herbert will be comfortable seeing that man right in front of him. Unfortunately, Anthony Lynn got fired. He'll definitely get a job somewhere as a coordinator or some sort of coach on another team. But I feel like their new head coach will be able to keep up more with Justin Herbert and make that offense. I mean, I had a friend, Brian, diehard Chargers fan all his life. Rooted for the Colts because Phillip Rivers went there, which was nice. But he's like, it's amazing how well the Chargers do despite that terrible organization. Their owner's very cheap, so you're not going to see him making off-season moves. So hopefully that coach could distance himself from the owner and run his team the way that he knows how, even though it's a new team. But Rashawn Slater, huge piece of that offensive line, and it'll definitely help Herbert have more time to make the miraculous throws that he made last year. At number 14, another Virginia Tech guy, like Caleb Farley, but on the opposite side, back-to-back offensive tackles here. Christian Darrisaw out of Virginia Tech. Back-to-back OTs here. Minnesota Vikings, they get another stud player here, who I think can play multiple positions on the line. I feel like a lot of these offensive linemen are very versatile in what they can do, and I feel like they're going to impress a lot of the teams that they go to, especially the top two here with Slater and Darrisaw. The Vikings could go defensive help here, but I feel like they need Kirk Cousins to be the best that he can be, or they're going to get rid of him. Because he's so inconsistent, but when he's on, and he's throwing 300-plus yards. But Christian Darrisaw in front of you is going to help you make really good throws to a really good offensive team. Thielen, Cook, Jefferson, they're going to be solid. And they'll probably be a playoff team. They should have been last year. But again, inconsistent Kirk Cousins, but they get help on the offensive line. So the Patriots, they're an interesting team. Tom Brady leaves, and they go 7-9. And the Buccaneers are currently in the Super Bowl. So I feel like they take the best player here, Micah Parsons, because if they don't trade up for Kyle Pitts, which I don't think they will, they're not going to grab a quarterback. They might get Mac Jones, which I think that would work out well, going from Saban to Belichick. You're just getting really solid coaches there. I feel like Mac Jones will be sort of a Ryan Tannehill, where he's not going to throw it 40 times a game. I don't know. I heard I just saw an article, Stafford didn't want to go to the Patriots. Why? I don't know. But I feel like Cam Newton's going to come back, but he'll be a backup. 16 here, we got the Arizona Cardinals. I have them taking Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah out of Notre Dame. This might be one of my higher picks. He might fall lower, or he might not. But he's so quick. He's such a good player. And Notre Dame, they had a good team this year. They made it to the playoffs. That format that they have recently, new format. They could go off offensive tackle here, but I think they address the defensive need here for Vance Joseph's 3-4 defense. Yeah, I think that's what they run. They obviously have Isaiah Simmons, but him and Koramoah together in the middle of the pack of that defense will be really something. And they don't, they were an okay team last year. Like I said, they can grab offensive tackle, but I think they're good enough O-linemen later in the draft that they can get, or somebody in free agency to help out Kyler Murray, but I feel like he needs to fix things on his own. But they address a defensive need here. Not a major need, but one of the better players, I believe, on the board here. Number 17 here, the Las Vegas Raiders. Gregory Rousseau out of Florida. I think he's right where he should be, middle of the draft. He's a player like Rashawn Slater, who a few tweaks here and there, and he could be one of the best players on that team. The Raiders last year were a bit of a disappointment, especially on the defensive side. They were 30th in the league out of 32 in defenses. So they helped that here with Gregory Rousseau. Obviously, it's not going to make them a 16-0 or now 17-0 team with the added week in the NFL upcoming. But it does strengthen that defense just a little bit. And I think they should go and grab somebody else in free agency. Ever since Khalil Mack left, They just haven't been as good. Dolphins here at 18 with their second pick of the first round. This might be a little ambitious, but I think they grab Najee Harris here. But I think Najee Harris is too good to pass up. And it's definitely a need for that team. They grab Devonta Smith earlier at number 8 and address a wide receiver need. And they stick on the offensive side here. Grab another Bama guy for Mr. Tua. Yeah, Najee Harris is just, he's a beast. And in that, he's hard to tackle. He's not Derrick Henry, but there are little flashes of Derrick Henry there in his Alabama career. It could be too early for a running back, but whatever. It's not like it's not like a Jordan Love pick where you traded up for a quarterback when you already had one. So I really don't think that the Dolphins are going to get criticized too much by picking Najee Harris here. It's not like they pick one of the top 10 running backs. They're picking the number 1 running back in the draft with Najee Harris. At number 19, Washington football team. I have them getting Mac Jones. He's obviously not the top guy on most people's boards, but 300-plus yards, 5 touchdowns in that national championship. I mean, it doesn't go unnoticed, or at least it shouldn't, because that's a big stage. And I think he's NFL ready. Does he have all the tools? No. But if he starts over Alex Smith, or if he at least learns under Alex Smith, with Ron Rivera as a coach, who has been in the Super Bowl, who was a Super Bowl winning player, I'm pretty sure he was a part of that 85 Bears team on the defensive side, and he's just been surrounded by football his whole life, so I don't think it'll be a problem for him to develop Mac Jones to what he could be. And I think that their defense is great. It could be tweaked just a bit, but that front 4, I think that's what they run a 4-3 is. With Chase Young is remarkable. Say whatever you want. Could be too early, but someone's got to pick him. And if he doesn't go first round, he'll go, I think, early second round. Back-to-back Bama guys here with Harris and Jones, but continuing with teams picking from probably one of the best offenses we've seen in college football history with the 2020 Alabama Crimson Tide. Number 20, Chicago Bears. There's not a quarterback to take here. I don't think they go Kyle Trask. That's way too early with the 20th pick. They're not going to do that. I have them going. I don't even know where he is here. Rashad Bateman out of Minnesota. His highlights, fantastic. One-on-one coverage, he's a beast. And they're going to lose Allen Robinson. Probably, I would say the Dolphins. Hopefully the Colts grab him. Colts have a lot of cap space, around $80 million. And that's one of the top in the league, top cap spaces in the league, just shy of $100 million. And that's, I think, if they let Jacoby Brissett go, which I think they will. But the Bears grab Bateman here, top 5 prospect, wide receiver prospect in the draft. I feel like if you get any of these guys, your team is just going to be better, especially the top 3 with Chase, Waddle, and Smith. And if they do stick with Trubisky or they go with Foles, either way, they're going to need somebody. They're going to need another weapon. And Bateman is a guy that if Trubisky, because they don't have the best offensive line, if Trubisky's in trouble, he can throw it up. And he's sort of like Larry Fitzgerald, where his hands are good enough to make that catch. But he's definitely NFL ready. He's like I said, Penei Sewell, Rashad Bateman, and the other wide receivers. Maybe not Smith, but they could play tomorrow, and they'd be studs. The Indianapolis Colts at 21. I was hoping, like I said before, for Mr. Matthew Stafford. They wouldn't have had this 21st pick here if they gave him up. I have seen some, even professionals, say to trade up for like Trey Lance. I don't want that at all. We're in a win now mode. I keep messing that up. And we need somebody. Rivers was great, but he retired and he's going to Bama to coach a high school football team. So good for him. I wish him well. But also that's Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide in the back. My sister's a Alabama alumni. That's not me. Tennessee Titans here at number 22. They desperately need a pass rush and run stopping. They need defensive tackle. They need an edge. I have them getting here Azeez Ojulari out of Georgia, but they almost lost that game, Week 17, against the Houston Texans because they allowed 30 points, I believe, and they just allowed Deshaun Watson to have all the time in the world and just throw all over the field. That's so annoying. They could have, if they would have lost, the Colts would have won the division, and that would have probably been a different story. I don't know if they would definitely not be in the Super Bowl. You never know. But Azeez Ojulari out of Georgia here. So I have them taking a major need here at 22 with an edge rusher. New York Jets, second pick of the first round. They need a lot of pieces, of course, but I have them taking here J.C. Horn out of South Carolina. The Jets are in a position to just take the best player on the board, and I think, I don't know if he'll fall this far, but if he does, Jets should grab him. I feel like the Jets have more of a need on edge rush. They could have went Joseph Osai, but again, best player on the board, J.C. Horn, and if he falls this far, I mean, Jets need pieces everywhere, so you might as well just grab the best guy on the board right now, and J.C. Horn out of South Carolina, and address, a hole in that defense. Pittsburgh Steelers here at 24, taking offensive tackle Alijah Vera-Tucker. Definitely a help for them on the offensive line, which they desperately need. Who knows if Big Ben's going to come back, but if he does, he's not getting any younger, so they're going to need all the protection that they can get. Yeah, Pouncey is set to retire, and Villanueva is 32, so they need a quicker young whippersnapper there on offensive line. And after starting 11-0, the Steelers fell to 12-4. Of course, they beat the Colts, but they were frauds, as some people said. I don't know if I would go that far. A fraudulent 11-0 team, but they need some big time offensive help, or whatever quarterback is there is just going to get sacked upon sacked. And the AFC North is a good division, and the two teams coming up here, the Browns and the Ravens, could win that division, and the Steelers need to compete with them, and that starts with the offensive line, which of course is extremely important. Back-to-back offensive linemen here, Alex Leatherwood out of Alabama. Almost went into the draft last year, but stayed, got better, and he's going to help out Trevor Lawrence, an SEC rival, but doesn't matter anymore in the NFL. The Jags, they're in a good position, like the Jets, here in this draft, with 2 first-rounders, 2 second-rounders, and they grab a Nick Saban coached offensive tackle. The Jags were 22nd in ranked offensive line here. They're not going to shoot up to number 1, but they won't go lower than 22. I hope not. But they'll definitely get some help here with Alex Leatherwood at offensive tackle. And Leatherwood goes from Nick Saban to Urban Meyer. So he's going to have back-to-back 2 stud coaches. And I know that, of course, the NFL is different than college, but with offensive tackles, I don't think it takes too long to develop a player to be of the best caliber that they can be. So the Browns here, I have them taking Joseph Osai. In other mock drafts, I had Horn and Osai switching teams, Jets and Browns. But I think Osai goes to the Browns here. They had a good season. Definitely better on the offensive side. I think they were number 1 in offensive lines in the entire NFL. So they go on the opposite side, grab an edge rusher here. Joseph Osai, Myles Garrett. That's pretty scary. That's kind of like a Dwight Freeney and oh my God, I'm blanking on his name. Robert Mathis. That's it. I didn't look it up. I was going to, but then I figured it out. Wow, I should be ashamed of myself as a Colts fan. That was an awesome team. But that's what I was getting at. Joseph Osai, Myles Garrett, sort of like a Dwight Freeney, Robert Mathis type deal. I don't know if they're going to be as that caliber, but Joseph Osai, I think he'll fall this far, I think, and if not, he'll be probably a top 20 pick. But the next few picks here are going to be on the defensive end. So I think he's in a great spot here in Cleveland, and they improved that defense, and then they're one of the top seeds in the AFC, no doubt. If Baker and the offensive line can do what they did last year, I think Baker needs to do a little bit better. I think they need to get rid of Odell, because clearly he was a better quarterback after Odell left. But they get Joseph Ossai here at 26. 27, the Ravens grab the best player on the board. They can go wide receiver, which they also need. They can go tight end if they want to get somebody else besides Mark Andrews. I don't know if he's a free agent. I don't think so. But Christian Barmore out of Alabama, that makes it the 7th Bama guy taken in the first round. And we have 5 picks left. But that doesn't surprise me or anybody. And probably will happen. Could be more. But these top 7 will most likely be picked in the first round. I mean, national champs. So it's not surprising. I remember after watching the national championship, Barmore, I'm pretty sure he spoke, and he's a beast. He's just hungry, and he's ready. He's one of those players, like I said. I keep using that term. They could play tomorrow, and they would just be a problem for offenses. And the Ravens need some help on defense. Defensive tackles, a perfect spot to be filled here. I mean, the Ravens were one of the, I think, top 3 in defenses last year, but they were 27th in pass attempts allowed, and that starts with the front line there, especially at the defensive tackle position, and I think Barmore is going to be a wrecking ball, and he's got a good organization there in the Baltimore Ravens to make him one of the top defensive tackles in the league. I guarantee that. The Saints grab Zaven Collins out of Tulsa here, linebacker. I'm smirking because it's just, I would hate to be in the Saints organization right now. They're in the negative around 100. I think it's right under $105 million. And it's gonna take some time. They'll be able to do it. I don't know if they can make any offseason signings, especially on the defensive end. Drew Brees is probably going to retire, so that'll help with the cap space. Collins will help that 4-3 defense that they run. They were ranked 29th in red zone percentage, so they grabbed some help in the middle of the pack there. Collins had 4 interceptions in 2020, and most rankings have him lower in the draft, sort of heading into the second round. I think he's a first rounder, and I think this is going to be a perfect fit for them. The Packers here at 29 are going to get a wide receiver in Kadarius Toney, something that they should have done last year, and arguably, I think, the worst pick I've ever seen in my life. Not only did they pick a backup quarterback for Aaron Rodgers, who is in his mid-30s, and players play. You've seen Tom Brady and Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers is 39, and these guys play longer. And not only did they draft Jordan Love, who I don't even think it's working out right now in Green Bay. Maybe it is. I don't know. But they traded up for him, which was absurd. I would freak out if I was a Packers fan. But good for Rodgers, who was just like, all right, you're gonna draft a quarterback and you're gonna trade up for him. Okay, I'm gonna go 13-3, and I'm gonna win the MVP, which he probably is going to after the Super Bowl or the night before the Super Bowl. He didn't make it in the Super Bowl, but I don't think it's entirely his fault. He should have ran in that one play. Barstool drew up where he should have gone. That was funny, but it was true. Maybe he saw something else. I don't know. Coaching decisions, questionable. Yes, Matt LaFleur. Obviously, go for it. But the field goal doesn't help. You don't give Tom Brady time. That's just, from watching Tom Brady for years, this is, I could go coach a team and beat Tom Brady. You rush him, and you don't give him any time. You just don't. So you go kick a field goal, and you're still down by, it was 31-26 at that point. So questionable decisions on that end. But they grab Kadarius Toney out of Florida. They could go cornerback here, but they need more help. They need more weapons on offense. Devontae Adams, he can do it all, but not the whole time. What if he gets hurt? I mean, they're screwed. So Scantling, he dropped a few in the playoffs, and that you can't drop a ball as a professional wide receiver. You just can't, especially in the NFC Championship game. Kadarius Toney, almost 1,000 yards in 2020, and 14 yards per reception for the Gators over there. So two Florida receivers here, picked in the first round, Toney and Pitts. He's not a receiver, he's a tight end, but he's pretty much like a receiver. The Bills get Bolton here, and I don't want to say it's a steal, but I think he's right where he should be towards the end of the draft here. Some people have him going in the second round. I think you can't pass up on him. And the Bills need defensive help, especially in that linebacker position. They were 27th in red zone touchdowns and 17th in pass completions. So they're at the bottom of the pack for their defense there. You got Josh Allen on the other side, Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley. I think their running backs are going to get a little better. Zach Moss and Devin Singletary. They don't have the strongest run game, but they do address the defense here and grab Nick Bolton out of Missouri, which they need because they almost let up 40 points to the Chiefs. It is the Chiefs, but that's a lot in the playoffs, especially deeper down the road in the divisional game there. Barely any more left. The last two picks of the draft could be switched depending on who wins the Super Bowl. The Bucs here, Jason Owa out of Penn State. Where is he? There he is. Edge rusher. Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones. I don't know if Leonard Fournette's going to be there next year. They could get a running back here in Travis Etienne. Do they? They might. But I feel like they grab an edge rusher here. Ndamukong Suh, he's all over the place. He goes to so many teams. So who knows if he'll be there. But he's 35, I think, right? Let's see, 34. And he has a solid year, but they need a little bit of help there. And if they get him, Jason Owa, it's not going to make them a better team, but if they win the Super Bowl, I doubt they're going to be worse. And the final pick, the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm not going to say that they're what I think is going to happen in the Super Bowl because I never bet against Tom Brady, and I never rule him out, and you shouldn't because he's Tom Brady. I have them grabbing Tevin Jenkins here out of Oklahoma State, and that completes the end of the draft. They go offensive line here because why not help Patrick Mahomes? Why not help one of the best quarterbacks of all time already? He definitely will be if he wins the Super Bowl. And they definitely need offensive help because every time I watch a game, I feel like it's like 1, 2, and then he scrambles, which is what he does. But that means that people are rushing towards him, and he has to, do a Frank Tarkenton throw on the run there. Jenkins 6'6", 320, big boy. Sports Illustrated recently came out with an article calling him a top 10 player in the draft. I think that's a little over exaggeration. What do I know? But I think teams that need line help will grab the bigger names like Slater, Darisaw, Cosme, and Penei Sewell, which I did have them getting. But they get Tevin Jenkins here, and they just strengthen that offensive line, which they need, and then probably win the Super Bowl again next year. That's it for the 2021 NFL mock draft. Hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, basically, it was a draft of needs, and I think that's just the smartest way to go. If I was a GM, that's what I would do. And that's what the Colts did a few years ago when the Jets traded their pick from 6 to 3 to get Sam Darnold. They were like, okay, we're going to get Quentin Nelson because we need to help Andrew Luck. Unfortunately, he retired. Sad day. But we won't go into that. But it was too late because he was already hurt. 4 injuries in like 3 years or something like that. Lacerated kidney. I don't blame him for piecing out, especially after that contract that he got. So he's like, pay me my money, I'm going to retire.